You have no idea what happened last Tuesday, do you? No clue whatsoever. You were probably at home, maybe making dinner, maybe staring at your phone, maybe doing absolutely nothing important, just existing, just breathing, just being you. But somewhere across town, in a room you've never stepped foot in, surrounded by faces you might not even recognize, something shifted. Somebody mentioned your name, and the entire room went quiet. Not the polite kind of quiet, not the oh interesting kind of pause, no. This was different. This was the kind of silence that crawls up your spine, the kind that makes people suddenly fascinated with their shoes, the kind where everyone exchanges glances but nobody wants to be the first to speak. Your name did that? Just 2 words. Maybe 3 if we're counting your last name. That's all it took. A collection of syllables that your parents gave you before you even understood language. And those syllables, arranged in that specific order, made a room full of people forget how to breathe normally. Isn't that something? You're out here thinking you're invisible, thinking nobody notices, thinking you move through this world like a ghost that people look straight through. You've convinced yourself that you don't matter, that your presence is forgettable, that when you leave a room, the air doesn't change. But darling, if that were true, why did conversations stop when your name floated into that space? See, here's what you don't understand about yourself. You've been so busy surviving, so occupied with just getting through each day, that you haven't noticed the wake you leave behind. You haven't seen the ripples. You haven't felt the disturbance in the atmosphere that follows your existence like a shadow with its own agenda. But they felt it. Oh, they felt it. Let me paint this picture more clearly for you, because I don't think you're grasping the magnitude of what I'm telling you. There was a gathering. Could have been professional. Could have been social. Could have been something in between. The details don't matter as much as the energy. People were talking, laughing maybe, exchanging the usual nonsense that fills rooms when humans congregate. Stories were being told, names were being dropped. The casual currency of social interaction was flowing freely. And then someone, probably without even thinking about it, mentioned you. Maybe they were telling a story you were part of. Maybe they were answering a question about who they know. Maybe your name just slipped out in context, completely innocent, completely unplanned. But the effect was immediate. The laughter stopped. The casual energy evaporated. Suddenly everyone in that room had something caught in their throat. Suddenly the temperature shifted by a few degrees. Suddenly people who were comfortable became very, very uncomfortable. And the wildest part? You felt nothing. You were miles away, completely unaware, living your life in total ignorance of the fact that your mere mention had just altered the chemistry of an entire gathering. That's power you didn't even know you had. Let's talk about why this happens. Let's dig into the mechanics of why certain names carry weight that others simply don't. Most people are forgettable. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. Most people exist without leaving fingerprints on the consciousness of others. They come, they go, they're pleasant enough, and then they fade into the background noise of memory. You could mention their names in 100 rooms and nobody would blink. Nobody would pause. Nobody would feel anything at all. But you're not most people. Something about you lingers. Something about your energy sticks to surfaces long after you've left. Something about the way you exist in this world makes an impression that people can't quite shake, even when they want to. especially when they want to. And here's the thing about impressions that deep. They're not always comfortable. In fact, they rarely are. The people who make rooms go silent aren't the easy ones. They're not the ones who blend in and make everyone feel safe. No, they're the ones who challenge something, the ones who mirror something back that people don't want to see. The ones who just by existing ask questions that others would rather not answer. That's you. That's what you do without even trying. You think you're just living your life, but your life is asking questions of everyone who encounters it. Your presence is a confrontation. Your existence is an examination that people didn't sign up for. And when your name comes up in rooms you've never been in, all of that comes flooding back. All of those unasked questions. All of that confrontation they never resolved. All of that examination they failed. Of course they went silent. What else could they do? Now let's address the obvious question burning in your mind. Who was in that room? Who are these people discussing you behind closed doors? What were they saying before the silence swallowed their words? I could tell you, but honestly, does it matter? What matters is the reaction. What matters is that your name alone carries enough charge to stop conversations. What matters is that you've achieved something most people never will. You've become memorable to the point of discomfort. You've embedded yourself so deeply into certain minds that your mere mention triggers a physical response. Some of them probably wronged you, probably did things they thought you'd never find out about, decisions made in dark corners that they assumed would stay buried. Your name reminds them that nothing stays buried forever. Your name is a resurrection they weren't prepared for. Some of them probably underestimated you, looked at you once upon a time and made calculations about your potential that were laughably wrong. They filed you away in a category you were never meant to occupy, and now your name is a correction, a revision of their arrogant assumptions, a reminder that they don't know nearly as much as they thought they did. Some of them probably fear you, not in the obvious way, not in the running scared kind of way, but in the deeper way, the way you fear something you can't predict, something that operates outside your understanding, something that might not follow the rules you've built your entire safety around. Your name represents all of that. Every time it's spoken, it carries the full weight of what you've become, what you're becoming, what you might become if no one stops you. And here's the delicious part. No one can stop you. They know this. That's why the silence. That's why the sudden fascination with floor tiles and ceiling corners. That's why no one wants to be the first to speak after your name lands in the room like a grenade with an uncertain timer. Because speaking about you requires taking a position. And taking a position about you is dangerous territory. Say the wrong thing and they might end up on your radar. Speak too positively and they look like sycophants. Speak negatively and well, that might get back to you. And nobody wants to be the person whose words get back to you. So silence becomes the safest option. Collective, uncomfortable, telling silence. You know what most people never realize? Your reputation walks into rooms before you do. It arrives early. It takes a seat. It gets comfortable. And by the time you actually show up, if you ever show up at all, everyone has already had a conversation with the version of you that exists in their minds. But your reputation doesn't just walk into rooms. It kicks down doors. It demands attention. It shifts furniture just by existing. Your reputation has a presence of its own, independent of your physical form. And in rooms you've never been in, among people you've never met. That reputation is doing work, making impressions, sparking curiosity, generating fear, inspiring respect. All without your knowledge, all without your permission, all while you're somewhere else entirely, probably doubting yourself, probably wondering if you matter at all. The disconnect is almost comical. You, sitting alone, wondering if anyone thinks about you. Meanwhile, entire rooms are navigating the turbulence that your name creates. You, questioning your worth, while strangers are having physical reactions to the mere sound of your identity. You, feeling invisible, while your presence haunts spaces you've never occupied. If only you could see what I see. If only you could witness the aftermath of your mention. If only you understood that the same qualities you curse yourself for are the exact qualities that make rooms go silent when you come up in conversation. Your intensity that you think pushes people away, that's what they can't stop thinking about. Your refusal to play along with games that everyone else accepts, that's what makes them nervous. Your habit of seeing through pretense that others maintain so carefully, that's what keeps them up at night. Your ability to survive things that should have finished you, that's what they discuss in hushed tones when you're not around. You've been so focused on what you perceive as your weaknesses that you've missed the obvious. Those aren't weaknesses, those are weapons, and everyone who's encountered you knows it. Everyone who's felt your energy understands that you're not someone to be taken lightly. That's why your name travels. That's why it shows up in places you'd never expect. That's why complete strangers have opinions about you before you've ever exchanged a single word. You've made an impact that ripples outward in directions you can't track. And here's something else to consider. The silence that follows your name isn't always negative. Sometimes it's awe. Sometimes it's respect. So profound that words feel inadequate. Sometimes people go quiet because they're processing something that demands more than casual conversation. Not everyone who falls silent at your mention is an enemy. Some of them are admirers who don't know how to articulate what you represent to them. Some of them are people who've watched your journey from a distance and been genuinely moved by what they've witnessed. Some of them go quiet because speaking about you feels like speaking about something sacred, something not to be trivialized with careless words. Your name means something. To allies and adversaries alike, to people who love you and people who can't stand you, to strangers who've only heard stories and to intimates who've seen you at your worst. That meaning you carry is rare. Most people live and die without ever becoming significant enough to generate that kind of reaction. Most people could have their names mentioned in 1,000 rooms without anyone's heartbeat changing by a single beat. But you? Your name is an event, an occurrence, a moment that demands acknowledgement even when that acknowledgement comes in the form of loaded silence. Now I need you to understand what to do with this information, because knowing you have this effect is only valuable if you use it correctly. First, stop shrinking. Stop apologizing for the space you take up. Stop trying to make yourself more palatable, more digestible, more forgettable. That ship has sailed. You're already memorable. You're already impactful. Trying to undo that now is like trying to unring a bell that's been echoing for years. Embrace what you are. Lean into the intensity that makes people react. Stop fighting your nature and start wielding it with intention. Second, recognize that this kind of influence comes with responsibility. Your name carries weight. Your words, when they travel through others' mouths, carry weight. Your actions, when they're discussed in rooms you've never been in, carry weight. Move accordingly. Speak accordingly. Live accordingly. Not everyone can handle being discussed in their absence. Not everyone can bear the pressure of knowing that their reputation is a living thing, growing and changing with every retelling. But you can. You've already proven you can because you've survived this long without even knowing it was happening. Third, let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them go silent when your name surfaces. You don't need to control the narrative. You don't need to manage everyone's perception. The fact that they react at all means you've already won something most people never even compete for. You've won relevance. You've won significance. You've won a place in minds that would rather forget you. They can't forget you. That's your victory. Every time your name makes a room uncomfortable, that's confirmation. Every time someone hesitates to speak about you, that's acknowledgement. Every time the energy shifts because you came up in conversation, that's proof that you matter in ways you haven't fully accepted yet. Here's the final truth I need you to sit with. You will never know all the rooms where your name has been spoken. You will never hear all the conversations that have centered around you. You will never witness all the silences you've caused, or all the debates you've sparked, or all the emotions you've triggered in people you'll never meet. Your influence extends beyond your awareness. Your impact reaches further than your eyes can see. Your existence matters to more people than you'll ever have confirmation of. And that should terrify you a little bit. But it should also liberate you. Because if you're already being discussed in rooms you've never entered, if your name is already traveling through networks you don't have access to, if your reputation is already a force that operates independently of your direct control, then you might as well be exactly who you are. Completely. Unapologetically. Relentlessly. They're going to talk anyway. They're going to have reactions anyway. They're going to fall silent at your mention anyway. So give them something worth the silence. Give them a name that earns the weight it carries. Give them a reason to pause, to think, to feel uncomfortable with their own responses. You've already done this accidentally. Imagine what happens when you do it on purpose. Somewhere right now as you're listening to this, your name is probably surfacing in a conversation you know nothing about. Someone is probably mentioning you in passing. And someone else is probably feeling that familiar catch in their chest, that moment of recognition, that involuntary pause that your name always seems to generate. They're thinking about you, talking about you, reacting to you, and they don't even know why. But you do now. So carry your name like the weapon it's become. Walk through this world, knowing that your identity alone is enough to shift atmospheres. Stop questioning whether you matter, and start accepting the evidence that you do. Your name came up in a room you've never been in. They went silent. And somewhere in that silence, there was more respect than they'll ever admit out loud. Now go be worthy of it. You know what's funny? You spent years talking, years explaining yourself, years trying to make them understand. You poured your heart out like it was some kind of offering, like if you just said the right words, if you just explained it one more time, they'd finally get it. They'd finally see you. They'd finally care. But they didn't. Did they? No. They took your words and twisted them. They took your vulnerability and weaponized it. Every time you opened your mouth, every time you tried to communicate, every time you begged them to just listen, they filed it away. Not to understand you. No, to use against you later. to throw back in your face when it suited them, to remind you of every weakness you ever confessed. And now look at you. Silent, quiet, done. And them? They can't sleep. Oh, the irony. The beautiful twisted irony of it all. You spent countless nights awake, replaying conversations, wondering what you could have said differently, wondering why they didn't hear you, your pillow soaked with tears nobody saw, your mind racing at 3 a.m. while they slept like babies, unbothered by your pain. But now the tables have turned. Now you've gone quiet. And that silence, my friend, that silence is eating them alive. See, here's what they never understood about you. Your words weren't weapons. They were bridges. Every time you spoke, you were trying to connect, trying to fix, trying to heal. You weren't attacking them. You were reaching for them, hoping, praying that maybe this time they'd meet you halfway. But they never did. They saw your communication as noise, as nagging, as something to endure until you wore yourself out. They thought if they ignored you long enough, dismissed you enough times, you'd eventually just accept their crumbs and be grateful. What they didn't count on was you waking up. What they didn't expect was the day you'd realize that some people don't deserve your words. Some people don't deserve your energy. Some people are so comfortable in their dysfunction that your healing threatens their entire existence. So you stopped. You just stopped. No more texts. No more calls. No more explanations. No more trying to make them see what they were determined to stay blind to. You withdrew your words like a king withdrawing his army. Not in defeat, in strategy. And now they're panicking. You ever watch someone lose their mind over silence? It's something else, let me tell you. These are the same people who ignored you when you were speaking. The same ones who rolled their eyes at your feelings. The same ones who made you feel crazy for wanting basic respect. Now they're refreshing their phones, checking if you've been online, asking mutual friends if you've said anything about them, driving past places you might be, replaying your last conversation over and over, trying to figure out where they lost control, because that's what this is really about, isn't it? Control. They thought they had you figured out. They thought they knew exactly how far they could push before you'd push back. They had your patterns memorized, your reactions predictable, your forgiveness guaranteed. But silence? Silence wasn't in the playbook. Silence means they can't gauge where you're at. Silence means they can't manipulate what they can't access. Silence means you've become something they fear most. Unpredictable. And unpredictable people? You can't control them. Let me paint you a picture. It's 2 a.m. Their bedroom is dark. The house is quiet. Everyone else is asleep. But not them. No, they're lying there staring at the ceiling, and all they can hear is the absence of your voice. They remember every word you said. Now, funny how that works, isn't it? When you were talking, they couldn't be bothered to listen. But now every sentence is crystal clear. Every plea, every "I just need you to understand." Every time you tried to reach them and they slapped your hand away, it's all coming back. Like a flood, like a haunting. They're thinking about the last time they saw you. The look in your eyes. That moment when something shifted, when the fire went out. When the person who used to fight for them decided they weren't worth fighting for anymore. That moment keeps them up at night. Because deep down, beneath all that pride and ego, They know they pushed too hard. They know they took too much. They know they mistook your patience for weakness and your love for obligation. And now you're gone. Not physically, maybe, but gone in every way that matters. Your spirit, your energy, your words, gone. And the silence you left behind, it's deafening. You want to know the cruelest part? The part that really twists the knife? They can't even be mad at you. Think about it. If you had screamed, if you had fought, if you had made a scene, they could play victim. They could tell everyone how crazy you were, how dramatic, how you overreacted. They'd have a story, a narrative, where they're the innocent ones, and you're the problem. But you didn't give them that, did you? No. You just went quiet, peaceful, unbothered. You removed yourself from the chaos without creating more of it. And now they have nothing to hold against you, nothing to point to, nothing to justify their guilt. All they have is your absence. And absence doesn't argue back. Absence doesn't defend itself. Absence just exists, heavy and permanent, like a ghost that follows them everywhere. They can't escape you by escaping your words, because your silence speaks louder than anything you ever said. Here's something they'll never admit out loud. They miss your voice. Not in a sweet, romantic way. No. They miss having access to you. They miss knowing what you're thinking. They miss being able to predict your next move based on what you told them. You were an open book. Remember? You told them everything. Your fears, your dreams, your insecurities. You trusted them with the parts of yourself that nobody else got to see. And they used that information like a map to navigate you, to manage you, to keep you exactly where they wanted you. But now the book is closed, the map is burned, and they're wandering in the dark, terrified of what they can't see. Your silence has made you mysterious, powerful, dangerous. Not dangerous because you'd hurt them. No. Dangerous because you've moved beyond their reach. Dangerous because you've found a peace they can't disturb. Dangerous because the person they thought they knew, the one they thought would always come back, has evolved into someone they can't recognize. And that new you, that silent, powerful, unbothered you, that's the version that haunts them at 3 a.m. Let's talk about what silence really is. Because most people get it wrong. They think silence is giving up. They think it's weakness. They think it's running away from the fight. But real silence? The intentional kind. The kind that comes after you've said everything that needed to be said and nothing changed? That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's you. Finally understanding that some battles aren't worth your breath. Some people aren't worth your explanations. Some relationships can't be saved with words because words were never the problem. They were. You could have the vocabulary of a poet and the patience of a saint, and it wouldn't matter because they weren't listening. They never were. They were just waiting for you to finish so they could continue doing exactly what they wanted. So you stopped giving them that courtesy. You stopped performing for an audience that refused to clap. You stopped bleeding for people who enjoyed watching you suffer. And now you sit in silence. Not the silence of defeat. The silence of someone who finally knows their worth. They're gonna try to break it. You know, your silence. They're gonna test it. First comes the casual reach out. The hey, Haven't heard from you in a while text? Acting like nothing happened. Like they didn't spend months or years making you feel invisible? Don't fall for it. Then comes the guilt trip. The "I guess you just don't care anymore" routine. Trying to make you feel bad for protecting your peace. Trying to flip the script and make you the villain. Don't fall for it. Then comes the anger, the frustration. They'll get nasty. Call you cold. Call you heartless. Tell everyone who will listen that you've changed, that you think you're better than everyone now. And you know what? Let them, because their anger is just proof that your silence is working. Their frustration is evidence that they've lost control. Their desperation to get a reaction out of you shows exactly how much power you now hold. You don't need to respond. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to explain why you went quiet. Your silence says everything that needs to be said. I want you to understand something, kid, something important. You didn't go silent because you're weak. You went silent because you finally got strong enough to walk away from what was killing you. Every word you used to say, every explanation you offered, every time you tried to make them understand, that was you fighting for something that wasn't fighting for you, and you got tired. Not just physically, soul tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. The kind that comes from giving everything to people who take it for granted. So you withdrew. Not to punish them, not for revenge, but for survival. Because staying, talking, explaining, that was slowly destroying you, and you chose yourself. Finally, maybe for the first time in your life. That's not cold. That's not heartless. That's self-preservation. That's wisdom. That's strength that most people will never understand because they've never had to rebuild themselves from the ashes of their own kindness. And here's the beautiful part. The part that makes all of this worth it. While they're lying awake at night, tormented by your silence, you're sleeping peacefully. For the first time in God knows how long, you're not waiting for their text. You're not hoping they'll finally change. You're not replaying arguments in your head, trying to figure out what you could have done differently. You're free. Free from their chaos. Free from their manipulation. Free from the exhausting cycle of giving and never receiving. Free from the prison of trying to love people who only knew how to take. Your silence bought you something they could never give you. Peace. And that peace, it's worth more than any relationship. Worth more than any closure they could offer. Worth more than any apology they'll never truly mean. They thought your silence would be temporary, a phase. Something you'd grow out of when you calmed down, but weeks have turned into months, and you're still quiet, still distant, still gone. And now reality is setting in, the cold, hard truth that they ignored for too long. You're not coming back, not the old you anyway, not the one who waited by the phone, not the one who forgave without apology, not the one who accepted crumbs and called it a feast. That person died, right there in the silence. And what rose from those ashes is someone they don't recognize, someone stronger, someone wiser, someone who knows exactly what they deserve and refuses to settle for less. They created this version of you. Every ignored message, every dismissed feeling, every time they chose their ego over your heart, They built this silent, powerful creature one betrayal at a time, and now they have to live with it. So here's my advice to you, my friend. My simple, dark, honest advice. Stay quiet. Not forever. Not with everyone. But with them. The ones who didn't deserve your words in the first place. The ones who made you feel crazy for having feelings. The ones who took your communication for granted. Stay quiet and let them wonder. Let them lose sleep. Let them replay every moment. Let them feel the weight of your absence in a way they never felt the weight of your presence. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them a single syllable more than you've already given. Your silence is your boundary. Your silence is your power. Your silence is the loudest statement you've ever made. And they hear it. Trust me, they hear it. Every night. In the dark. When they can't sleep. That's you. That's your silence. That's the sound of someone who finally learned that some people don't deserve their voice. One day, and this day will come, they're going to realize what they lost. Not just the relationship, not just the connection, but the rare, beautiful, loyal soul who would have done anything for them. They'll be sitting somewhere, maybe years from now, and it'll hit them like a truck, like a wave, like a truth they can no longer run from. They had someone real, someone genuine, someone who loved them not for what they could get, but for who they were, and they threw it away. For what? Pride? Control? The sick satisfaction of knowing someone would always come back? Well, you didn't come back. And they'll carry that regret forever. Not your problem anymore. So sleep well tonight, kid. Sleep like you haven't slept in years. Because while they're lying awake, haunted by your silence, you're finally at peace. Finally free. Finally becoming everything they were afraid you'd become. Your silence isn't punishment. It's evolution. And they can't sleep. Because somewhere deep down, in that part of them they try to ignore, they know the truth. They lost you. And the silence you left behind, that's forever.